How you doing? Thanks for being here.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's such an honor to be invited in your show. How are you doing?
I'm great. With this still crazy pandemic season. Just trying to uh, get myself together with this online classes and just it's been it's been working. It's been working
I just can't wait for this year to be over. I mean, it's been crazy, and I can't wait for 2021.
for sure. It's like what, 2 months left? 2 months left till 2021.
Yeah, 2 months left.
So I know my brother and your friends, most especially, have been waiting for this episode. So we're gonna start right away.
Really?
Well, from what I heard. So
Well, I hope I don't disappoint them. I mean, this is my first podcast, kind of like a interview online. So, I hope I'll be able to give justice in their, expectations
yeah,
in this interview. So,
yeah, they've been anticipating and they've been asking, oh, when are you gonna interview? When are you gonna interview Nathan? And the day it's here. The day has arrived.
well,
So
I'm flattered that they are anticipating this interview, and I hope that they'll learn something about me and also about like my hobbies, and I like sharing them. So I hope they enjoy this video.
and I'm honored to be the first one. Was it the first podcaster to
Yes.
interview? So yeah,
Yeah. Well, I've been asked several times. By several, I mean like two other.
is
But
that
I'm so
right?
yeah. But I'm just like not. I don't know. I I'm not very confident with. I told you when I saw you last time. I'm
Oh,
like
that's
I
right.
still have to learn a lot in my communication skills. But I felt like it's time for me to step out of my comfort zone and actually do this and talk to a lot of people, because that's what I'm gonna be doing. But with my career as a future doctor, I'll be communicating with a lot of different people, and so I think it's good practice for me.
We're talking about med school. Are you? Yeah, you said you were in second year of med school. Is that
I
right?
am a second year medical student, correct?
How's that going?
It's going. I mean, it's getting harder and harder,
Hmm.
but um, it's it's getting I don't know. I feel like I'm getting used to the the pacing of the classes and all the rigor that medical school entails. So I think I feel like I'm getting the hang of it finally after 3 semesters. So even though the volume of the classes are getting more dense, I
Hmm.
feel like I've acquired the skills to get through the lectures fast enough so I could retain information and yeah, like I'll tell you, last semester, like the first semester, we were only taking like maybe 16 chapters per exam, and then now
Oh,
we are having about like 40 chapters per exam. So that's like
oh,
times two, more than times two of what we used to do. So, but I feel like I'm even doing much better now that we are having more volume, just because I've had that skills and I've learned, my study skills that works.
and how often do you have tests? Like every 2 weeks, or?
No, well, you could say every 2 weeks just because we have different classes. I have five
Right,
different
right.
classes,
Oh, okay.
but in one class, I'd say we have maybe like 4 exams per class.
4 exams.
So, yeah, like the one that had a 40 chapter exam is called BCom,
Hmm.
and that's like an integrated class. So it's normal classes in college or undergrad is like 4 hour credit, correct?
Yeah.
But this class is actually 13-hour credits. So that's like times three. It's like three
Oh,
classes in one. So that's why it's very challenging. But
yeah,
but I like it. I guess if you really like what you're studying or what you're doing, even though it's challenging, it's
yeah.
it's it's fun, and you learn a lot. So it's very fulfilling to be able to uh, you know learn
Hmm.
and eventually apply it in the future.
I see. I keep hearing like stories on how rigorous med school is, and I guess we'll get to more of that in just a second. But
Okay.
let's backtrack for a second. Take me back for a second. Like, let's go ahead and first discuss your medical school journey. What made you choose the path to becoming a physician? Like, did you have any role models growing up? Tell us all about that.
Well, I wouldn't say that I have role models. I mean, I do admire a lot of physicians, but to be honest, I didn't have any physician around me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I am the first one in my family that goes to medical school,
Oh, wow.
and I do have siblings, or I have a sibling that's a nurse, and a lot of my family members are in the medical field, but none of them are doctors. I'd say that what ignited my interest in medicine is actually the fact that I grew up in a place, or in a place where there's a high disparity in healthcare.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up in Abra, that's a little village in the Philippines, and there are very limited healthcare resources. We
Oh.
usually have to travel like hours to even to be able to see a doctor, or
Oh.
at least to be in a decent hospital. We do have doctors in our village, but they have very limited resources in providing the optimal care that a patient should receive. I think the fact that we had limited access to healthcare, especially doctors in my village, I told myself that one day I'll be able to, I'll be a doctor one day,
Yeah.
and kind of give back someday in my community. Not necessarily my community, but like in community that I'm gonna be a part of.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be um, that's my goal in the future, to be able to give back to the community where I'm gonna be a part of.
That's really inspiring, I gotta tell you. But coming into med school, I know from your Instagram post, you said you knew the coursework was going to be rigorous, right? But did you had misconceptions about med school that turned out to be not true?
I wouldn't say misconception, but I did kind of um, underestimate it. I'd say a lot of medical students would describe medical school as like, I'm so sorry,
No, you're
um,
good.
as like drinking from a fire hydrant. Like the amount of information is just so much. So having well, during my undergrad, when I had my bachelor's in nursing,
Mm-hmm.
um, I I I don't think, I mean, it was hard, but I would always manage to pass my classes with average effort. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I wouldn't like study, 24 hours to pass a
Yeah.
class, or not even more than 8 hours. But now I'm studying like 22 hours. Like I'm telling you,
Man.
I would only sleep like 2 to 3 hours a day, especially like exam week. Like,
Uh-huh.
this is my best friend. I know it's not sponsored by Monster, but this is like my best friend. If you see me in the grocery store and I'm like buying this, that means it's exam week. So yeah, I guess it's not a misconception, but more like um, I underestimated the rigor of medical school. Although now that I think about it, I feel like the misconception is that if you, especially in social media,
Mm.
like if you follow a lot of medical school account,
Yeah.
like I think we call them medfluencers.
I'm seeing
um
lots of them.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So if you look at their Instagram,
Mhm.
it's like very curated. It makes medical school very glamorous, and I've heard the term like glamorizing medicine,
Mhm.
but in reality, that beautiful setup of table and notes is probably like 2% only of reality. The
Oh.
truth is that like a medical student's table is very messy. It's full of notes all over, and
Uh-huh.
and you don't look, well, you don't look as good as as what you see in like
Mhm.
Medfluencers pages. You usually look like crappy. You don't have you haven't showered because you'd rather study than shower. So I think that's the misconception. Like you'd see like beautiful Medfluencers in their beautiful scrubs, and beautiful notes.
Yeah.
And apparently that's not reality,
Yeah.
and that's not medical school.
Give me like a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being super helpful and 1 being not helpful. How helpful was your nursing background to your journey in med school? Give me a scale.
Depends what aspects of medicine. Is it the clinical part or like the basic science part?
I see.
The basic science would be like, learning the biochemistry and like the um, you know, like the organic chemistry and all that.
Yeah.
Nursing, I don't think it helped me as much for that. Probably I'd rate that as like maybe 4, 3.
I see.
Okay.
I see.
But like when it comes to like clinical and being from like the familiarity with like words and diseases, which is more like clinical sides of medicine, um, I felt like nursing really helped me a lot.
I see.
Also, we have this every Friday would have like simulations and patient encounter. I think nursing definitely helped me with that, and for that, I would probably rate it like 9 out of 10. That it did help me, or
I see.
it's helping me right now, and hopefully the next 2 years, because medical school is 4 years. The first 2 years we're learning more about like the sciences, like the organic chemistry, the biochemistry, and all that. But then the last 2 years would be more clinical. We will be in the hospitals and actually taking care of patients. And I feel like that's when nursing is really going to help me. And that's the same thing as what my friends that had been through medical school, they said that nursing would really come into play come third year and fourth year. So I'm excited because these 2 years is like kicking my behind right now. I mean, I'm doing okay, but it's challenging.
Plus, after med school, you got 4 years of residency. Did I get that right, or is that how it
Um,
works?
no, well, some residencies are 4 years, but some are 3 years. It just depends on what residency you're going to apply to or what specialty. Of course, neurosurgery would probably like take 6 years. I think family medicine and internal medicine is 3 years, and I think general surgery is 5 years. I'm not sure, but um, yeah, so it's about 3 to 7 years depending on what specialty, and then also like maybe another 2 or 3 more years if you want to do like fellowship
Yeah, I
eventually.
heard. Yeah,
So it's forever learning.
yeah. I heard. I keep hearing about that. May I ask what specialty are you aiming for?
Ooh, okay. Well, um, I have my eyes on several specialty. I am a non-traditional medical student
Yeah.
because I didn't I didn't do my 4 years bachelor's and then immediately apply to medical school. I
Yeah.
actually worked 8 years. I'm actually much older than a lot of medical students and a lot of my classmates. Um,
Uh,
yeah. So time is very important for me. So like, since I'm older than an average medical student, I don't want to do something that's really long, like I said, the neurosurgery and general surgery, they take
yeah.
such a long time. So that's one factor that I'm considering is time. And then of course the more important factor is what I really want to do. There are 2 things or maybe 3 things that I really want to do. One is family medicine because I like the um, interaction with my like the long-term relationship with my patient and actually manage chronic diseases and watch them in the long term. But I also like internal medicine, just because internal medicine, like eventually if you want to specialize with cardiology and
Yeah.
gastroenterology or something like that, you have that option. But the third one is dermatology, and it's something that I've always been interested
Yeah.
in. Initially, I was interested on it because of the aesthetic side of it, but upon learning more about dermatology, it's actually even more interesting learning the diseases, the not pretty diseases
Yeah.
that is in dermatology, and it's very, I find it very interesting. So those 3 things. But I feel like I need to talk about this just because I feel like a lot of people do not know about how medical school actually really work, I feel like a lot of people think that whatever you want to be after medical school will be the field that you are going to do. Like if you want to be neurosurgery, that after med school you can be neurosurgeon. It's
Yeah.
not as simple as that. It's actually very competitive to get into a residency training.
But don't you guys have a match day or something like that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you did your assignment, Patrick. Yeah. So the match day, it's when all the medical student in the US find out where they match. So you actually have to apply in those residency programs, but there are very limited programs in the US. Like I think dermatology has only, don't quote me on this, but it's I think 30 programs in the US.
Oh, okay.
So imagine, I don't know how many hundred thousands of medical students are in the US and fighting for, you know, a program that's very limited.
Right.
So there are chances that you won't be able to match in that program.
Yeah.
And so then you won't be able to have a job after medical school. Then you'll have to reapply again the following year, since application is only once a year. And so it's very competitive to get into residency. And of course, the more specialized your residency that you're going to apply to, it's actually more what do you call this? More challenging, more competitive. Like neurosurgery, orthopedics, dermatology, I think plastics or surgeries, those are like some of the more competitive ones. And I believe emergency medicine is also getting more competitive now.
Yeah.
So you really have, they look, I mean, they look at their applicant like holistically, but they definitely, you know, consider you if you have like high, you know, scores in your board exams, if if you did really well in your medical school, if you had like publications or research, or if I think some programs also consider your ranking when you're in medical school. And of course, I think they'll, they're going to interview you and see how you fit in their program. So that's why a lot of medical students are very like, I have to do well, because come application, you have to really showcase that you're a competitive candidate for the residency. And it would really suck if you work for 4 years and you apply for a residency and you won't get into any residency, and then you have to wait for another year to reapply. So I'm just hoping that I'll be competitive enough for the 3 specialty that I mentioned to you. So
so best of luck to you for on getting those one of those specialties that you mentioned. Now let's talk about Porsche Life of Nate. How did that come about?
I've always loved, even on my personal account, I've always loved sharing my lifestyle, my travel, and like designs, my photography and all that. I've always loved sharing it. But since starting medical school, my personal account has slowly turned into like a medical school account. I think a lot of my followers there are following me because of my medical school stuff. So I don't know if they're gonna appreciate me adding like like house or home decor or plants in that page. So I decided to create a new one. And it just so happened that when COVID started, when the pandemic started, Ben and I are in the process of like moving into this new place where we are right now. And it's really cute, and a lot of the people who saw it on my stories have asked me that if I could give them a tour and take pictures and all that. So I started so I thought about making a Instagram page just dedicated solely for our tiny place.
I've seen photos and videos. I mean, y'all's place, it looks amazing, I gotta tell you.
Well, thank you. But I did not expect that it's gonna turn into a plantstagram. I started collecting, well, actually even before the pandemic, I've started collecting some plants, but I think I collected it in the wrong time. I started buying like November, December last year. So that's like winter, so a lot of
Yeah.
plants do not tolerate really cold weather. So
Yeah.
a lot of the plants that I actually bought at that time died. So um, yeah, like
Gosh.
it's so surprising that I'm still trying to collect plants, even though I've had that experience of, you know, having all the plants that I bought last year
Mhm.
died on me.
Oh.
But yeah, so it it was gonna be a home decor Instagram, but
Yeah.
then my one plant turned to two, and then three, and then now I have like so many.
I've seen
um
photos.
yeah, but I like it. I actually got rid of, maybe I'd say 50% of my plants already, just because
Oh,
I don't
why
want
was
to kill
that?
them. Yeah, when medical school started, or when second year started,
Uh-huh.
I quickly realized that I don't have the time to like be, you know, inspecting the leaves of all my plants, make sure there's no bugs in there, and
Yeah.
then watering them. So um you know, I don't want to kill them. So I started
Yeah.
selling some of them, or giving them to friends.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm only keeping like my rare plants now, and some of my other not rare plants, but some plants that I've always loved.
Speaking of rare plants, what's can you show us your rarest plant that you currently own? Yeah.
They're my favorite, and I'm sure if you've seen my Instagram, they're like all over my stories. So this is the Anthurium Warroquinum. I'm not sure if
Anthurium
I'm pronouncing
warwickii.
War Warroquinum. Um, but a lot of plant enthusiasts just call it the queen, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's Warroquinum.
Warwickii.
Yeah, so this is from the Anthurium family. Oh, actually,
Anthurium family.
they're aroids, specifically Anthurium.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the Anthuriums are they have so many variety, but this is my favorite one just because it's so, I don't know, it's so pretty. Its leaves are very velvety, and
Yeah.
it's elongated, and I don't know, it's I feel like sometimes pictures don't even do justice on them, but if you actually like touch them in person, it's just like it's very, I don't know, velvety, and
Very
it really
velvety.
yeah, it really satisfies my fingers when I'm
Mm-hmm.
touching them. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
little creepy, but but I love them. They're they're rare, but I feel like it's getting more popular now. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they don't become too popular to where they're, you know, sometimes when one thing gets very popular, then their value, or
Yeah.
like, you know, they become less special, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yeah.
So but this is my favorite one.
I see.
I actually have two of this.
Mm-hmm.
This one I got it. It's already rooted, so
I
that's
see.
why it looks nice. But the other one that I got, the first one, was just a cutting, and so I'm currently rehabilitating it right now. After 2 months or 3 months, it now has roots finally.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of excited about it because I thought it was gonna die on me.
Is that the
um,
reason why I saw like a cut on the anthurium?
a lot of times when a lot of the anthorums, actually, it's very hard for you to find anthorums that have perfect leaves. They would always have imperfections,
Yeah.
um, but they're pretty nonetheless. I think when I got this was already cut. I felt like there was
I
probably like a
see.
bug that kind of like chewed on the
Mm.
bottom part of it. So I guess it looks much better if you just cut it off than having like little, you know, holes on the leaves.
I
So,
see. I see.
but then look at
Yeah.
this one. Even this one, it's a brand new leaf, but it
Yeah.
already has hole. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't see any bugs in here, and I make sure that I spray them with like insecticides. But somehow, it's brand new. But when it unfurled, it had some hole. So that's kind of sad, but
Yeah.
I still
Were those
love it.
holes there when you bought them? When you bought that
Um,
plant?
this one,
The one,
no,
yeah.
no, because this is a new leaf actually.
Oh, okay, okay.
When I got this plant, it only had these two leaves, and then 2 weeks ago it
Ah.
started putting a new leaf, and I was very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but unfortunately, it's not a perfect leaf. But it's okay as long as this one doesn't get damaged, because this is
Yeah, true, true.
probably one of the most perfect leaf I've ever seen. And then the second one is the king.
The
Um,
king.
yeah, so I have the queen and the king. This is called Anthurium vichai.
Anthurium
Um,
vitri.
yeah, Veitchii, or I've heard it
Yeah.
pronounced as Veichi as well, but I think it's
Vici.
Vichai.
Oh,
But yeah, this is the king,
the
is
king.
its nickname, and I got it with only 2 leaves, and then
Mm.
now it has 4, and it's a very sexy plant for me. It's very masculine. Um, it's like you see how like the ripples are. It reminds me of like
Yeah.
abs. That's why I find it really sexy. But this is actually, I would say, like uh, the immature form. If you actually
Mm-hmm.
see like the ones that are grown naturally in their, I mean, that are grown in their natural habitat, like, which is in like South America, like Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that South America?
I'm not sure.
But anyways, in like Ecuador, they're actually really elongated, and they would probably like span up to like, I don't know, like 6 feet tall.
Whoa, is that
Yeah, so
right?
this is only like maybe 8 inches. So they could, like I said, they could be as tall as like 6 feet.
Dang, is
So
that
yeah,
dang?
even this one I've actually seen on YouTube. One of my favorite YouTuber that has a plant collection. She has one that's even bigger than her.
Oh, is that
It's
right?
it's really huge, yeah.
Whoa.
So I don't know if I can make them that huge, just because I don't think I have the correct environment for them to
Uh,
really grow like that.
yeah,
But I'm still happy with the way they're looking. I probably don't want them to get bigger anyways, just because I have such a tiny place. So
yeah,
yeah, this size is good for now. And maybe if I get like a house one day, a bigger house, then I try to like simulate the same environment that they have
yeah.
from their natural habitat, and maybe hopefully I'll get to grow them, bigger than me. So
Do you have any tips for anyone who want to start collecting plants?
um yeah, make sure to start with like plants that are not as rare or expensive. Of course, the rarer the plant is, the more expensive it is, and you don't
Yeah,
want to, you don't want to buy an expensive plant and end up like killing it. So start
yeah,
with plants that are, house plants that are common, that you can buy in like Home Depot or like your local nursery. And
mhm,
so you can kind of see how you are with plants, if you have what they call a green thumb or
mhm,
a black thumb, if
yeah,
there's such thing. um, and also kind of like to test your patience, if you really want to, take care of plants, because sometimes the idea of taking care of plants is fun, but
yeah,
until you actually have plants and until you actually start taking care of them, you know then you'll realize that it's a responsibility. You have to
yeah.
make sure that there's no bug, make sure that they are getting well fertilized, well watered,
Well, water,
and make sure that they have the good, the right temperature,
good sunlight.
and sunlight and all that, because they
Yeah.
all need those. Like I actually have to, I had to read a lot of or I don't like reading. So I actually had to watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to take care of plants, because like I said, I killed a lot of my plants from
Yeah.
last year. So with that experience, I I am now able to take care of my rare plants much better. And I felt like if I started with these plants last year
Hmm.
and killed them, I would have probably killed myself too, because these are I mean, they're not cheap,
Yeah. But they're rare.
so
So
they're, yeah. But hopefully, once my plan is to actually propagate as much as possible, and then I
mhm.
could start, selling them too, so I could get my investment back. you know um But yeah, for now, I just want them to grow and flourish, and you know, it. I, I I just like them being there because I felt like I find comfort
Yeah.
um, from them, especially with the stress of medical school.
Yeah.
When I see them having new leaf and like, because you can tell if a plant is sad or happy. And
Hmm.
when I see them happy, it gives me a lot of, fulfillment as well. And
Yeah.
so it kind of helped me de-stress from medical school.
Yeah, speaking of de-stress, I keep hearing like the benefits of like collecting plants, that it takes away your anxiety. Do you find that that's true?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. When I'm studying and I
Hmm.
felt a little burnt out and I'm just tired of staring at this monitor and taking notes, then I would just go in my little room there and just like stare at them, take a deep breath, and like just, touch them like the velvety one. I don't know, it's so pleasurable touching it. Like this one. Yeah, I do agree. It relieves a lot of the anxiety. And I felt like that's one of the main reason why a lot of people started collecting during the pandemic.
Hmm.
As you can see in Instagram and all over, social media, there's a increasing trend in plant collecting when pandemic started.
Hmm.
And I think it's because it gives a sense of fulfillment to us, especially in this trying times.
Yeah.
It gives us routine because, you know, um, now that a lot of, like school
Right.
transition to being online, or like, even work, our routine is kind of like messed up.
Yeah.
So just having, like having to wake up in the morning and kind of like, you know, water your plants and stuff like that. It gives us some kind of like it gives some kind of routine.
Yeah.
Um, and it also kind of distract us from, the negativities and all this bad thing that's happening
Of the
in the world
world.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I would see a lot of plantstagrams all over, like with these influencers collecting plants, and
Mm-hmm.
I just see a lot of them, and I wouldn't be surprised that the benefit that they bring, especially with the de-stressing, taking away your anxiety. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised as to why would some people collect plants. So now I want to talk to you about some opinions or feelings, that predictions that you may have about certain advancements in certain fields. Okay. Let's say in the next 5 to 15 years, where do you envision medical school education? Because as we all know, during the coronavirus, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, virtually all schools, including med schools, were shut down and
Mm-hmm.
switched to online classes. Do you
Mm-hmm.
predict that someday, even after the COVID-19 pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
we will see a fully 100% online med school program, or it will be as it was before COVID started, where it's all in class? Your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Prior to COVID, I guess I'd speak with my school and kind of like then give my insight regarding the whole medical school in the entire nation.
Yeah.
So we were 100% in person prior to the pandemic,
Hmm.
and when pandemic started, we went completely online,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Our labs were canceled, and I'd say 50% of or not 50%, but I'd say maybe like 30-40% of our curriculum is lab and kind of like hands-on stuff. So I feel like i I don't know if there's a way to replace that. For example, like anatomy lab,
Hmm.
you cannot do that online.
Yeah.
um like your patient encounter, I mean, there are actual virtual encounters
Hmm.
with your patient and talk to them, with the telemedicine and all that.
Yeah.
You can kind of like consult through chat or something like that, but it's different when you can actually touch the patient
Hmm.
and like feel them and listen to them and then you know see them in person, because then you will be able to find you'll be able to formulate a diagnosis better when they're right in front of you.
Hmm.
So I feel like while it's not going to be 100% online, I would say that they would increase the like the lectures, like the science and like the classes that we're taking right now,
Yeah.
in person, um, can be transitioned online. But the lab part of it, I don't think there's a way for them to actually change that online. So I feel like now it's with with our experience, I feel like they're gonna make maybe I'd say 50-50, like 50% online and then 50% in person.
A hybrid.
Um, yeah, kind of like a
Hybrid.
hybrid, which I know that even before pandemic, I know that there are some medical schools that my friends went to. A lot of their curriculum has been like that, but like I said, mine is like completely 100% in person. But now we are also hybrid. Like we actually have our lectures online, but we have some mandatory lectures, and then our labs are also in person. Um, but they divided us in smaller groups, just so like the lab won't have as much people at one time. So we used to have just two groups, but since the pandemic, our lab has been divided into, I think, four groups. So
More groups.
yeah. But as to your question, if it's gonna be 100% online, I don't think that's gonna happen, just because the actual in-person encounter when learning medicine is very important, and I don't think there's just a way to change that.
Especially you guys do dissections too, right?
Yeah, actually, when I was taking some of my prerequisite, one of my prerequisite, I took it online. But that was the second time that I'm already taking it. It's just I had
Okay.
to retake it because it kind of like expired. It's been a while since I took the class, so I had to retake it. And they actually offered the lab online, and so I was like dropping pipettes into like little beakers by just dragging my mouse, and I don't know, it's kind of funny, but it's just not, I don't know, it's just different. I know that some people would argue that, you know, online would suffice, but for me personally, I don't think that that would suffice, especially like the lab part of the curriculum.
I see. What about cancer research?
I do know that over the last decade, we have improved dramatically on our treatments and therapies that are for cancer. I think in the last 4 years, we have been utilizing what we called immunotherapy.
Immunotherapy.
So yes, don't ask me about the details,
No,
because I might not be able to explain it well. But in a nutshell, or in summary, it's like a way that our body naturally fights cancer. So I mean, it's still a medication, but it's a medication that would kind of like help our natural fighting cells, which are our I think T cells, to fight cancers. So it has to do with like immune inhibitors is what we call them. So if you are able to have like some kind of like checkpoints, then it will help our immune system to fight off certain cancers. So there are known checkpoints in our body, such as like CTLA4 and PD1 and PDL1. These are all just kind of like receptors of our T cells. And these immunotherapies can actually interact with them and help our T cells, our natural cancer fighting cells, fight off cancer.
I see.
Yeah, but actually, like I said, this has been going on for like the last 5 years. I think this is the most recent advancement in cancer. But immunotherapy is not perfect. It's not. We are finding out nowadays that there are some cancers that are not responsive to it, like melanoma and lung cancer responds to it pretty well, but like cancers such as like pancreatic cancer do not respond very well with immunotherapy. So I feel like the research is on there right now as to why some cancers do not respond to these immunotherapies, because if you actually look at the mechanism of action of immunotherapy, um, it would seem like it would work because it you know
Yeah.
it's very logical how our body works, but we are finding out that it's not the case for everyone. So I think the research is on learning more about our immune system and how we can manipulate it to better fight of cancer. But if you ask me, I think that our Department of Health, or for like scientists or doctors, should research more on ways to prevent cancer rather than focus just on treatment, because I
Mm-hmm.
know it's cliche, but prevention is better than cure. So
Yeah.
I feel like educating people and like just learning more about what things, or what predispose a certain individual to cancer, learning more about that would be more beneficial than just finding the cure. I believe that a lot of our scientists should research more on that,
Yeah.
and hopefully um, in the future we will have less prevalence of cancer, which is the case. I feel like we have drastically improved in our therapies for cancer.
I see. I see. What about artificial intelligence in healthcare? Like more specifically, drawing from your experience as a nurse, without spilling too much beans, of course. Like, was there ever a time in your nursing career where you were like, "Oh, this AI robot could have helped out with this procedure, or this particular piece of AI equipment or technology would have helped out with that
Hmm.
procedure"? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, technology nowadays is heavily used in the field of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as simple as like Fitbit and Apple Watch. We have like um, ECG, or they can actually monitor our cardiac rhythms.
Cardiac rhythm. Yeah.
Um, so for physicians as well, like we have electronic health record
Mm-hmm.
system, and we also have like dictation system. So when we're writing notes, we can actually just use machine and dictate our notes instead of typing and all
Yeah.
that. And sometimes that makes the job much faster, and it actually gives us more time to spend with the patient instead of spend with a computer typing notes
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But as far as like robot in actual procedures, um, there are several systems that are being utilized nowadays. I think we have the Da Vinci, I think that's what's called, Da Vinci surgical system, which
Mm-hmm.
assists doctors in their like surgeries, specifically like obstetric surgeries and
Mm-hmm.
laparoscopic abdominal surgeries. Robotic assisted laparoscopy is what they call it. These are being utilized nowadays. But specifically with nursing, I think a robot that does CPR would have been very, very helpful,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if you've been to an actual like CPR yourself.
I've seen the Lucas machine. I saw that one, the Lucas
Yeah,
machine.
actually that one. I didn't even know it's called Lucas machine, but I've seen it,
Okay.
and we don't have that in our hospitals. But I tell you, that would have been very, very useful, especially when I was working in the ICU. I'd say like every day or every other day we'd have to do CPR
Mm-hmm.
compressions and run codes, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And the 2 minutes we do rotate a compression.
Mm-hmm.
Like several people are assigned to do compressions. But that 2 minutes, even though you would say 2 minutes is just 2 minutes, but it actually, I don't know, it feels like forever when you're actually doing the compression.
Yeah.
It's so tiring, and with all like the adrenaline and all that, and it's just very, very tiring. And um, I would always find myself like, even if it's only been like 10 seconds, I was asking the recorder. I was like, has it been 2 minutes yet? Has it been 2 minutes yet? Because I'm so like exhausted already. So I felt like if we have that machine, then we'd have a more effective, I don't know, compressions. And I feel like since it's just a mechanical thing, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need a lot of like critical thinking. So
Yeah.
I feel like a robot for that would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But as to like maybe if they can, I know that there are research on like robots that administer medication and give medication and actually goes patient room and actually give their medications.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's a very good idea, just because uh, you need a lot of critical thinking and
Yeah.
judgment when you're giving a medication. Like, yes, a machine can give a medication, but I don't know if it could, it could, have a judgment as to where should I give this medication right now
Yeah.
or not. Like even as simple as like blood pressure medication,
Okay.
or yeah, like should you give that? You have to take their blood pressure first, and actually look at the overall clinical picture of the patient before giving a particular medication,
Mm-hmm.
which I think um, an artificial intelligence robot would not be able to do. But I'm sure eventually maybe it can.
Yeah.
But it's gonna take a lot of time, because it's a very complicated. It's a very like providing care to a patient is very complicated.
I see. Well, I gotta admit that those predictions that you have, I mean, like opinions and feelings. I mean, those are pretty interesting. I gotta tell you. Before we go, let's do quick questions. Here we go.
While me do my two-step.
I must make a note that these set of questions did not come from me. It came from one of your best friends. I'll just leave it like that. So it should be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of making me nervous, but it should be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm up for it.
So for those of you who are watching, don't come after me, but because I did not write these. I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer for 2 minutes, and let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So Arkansas or Texas?
Texas.
Favorite Pinoy ulam?
Tortang talong.
Okay. Ultimate celebrity crush?
Brad Pitt.
MD Anderson or Methodist?
MD Anderson.
Favorite class in med school?
Um, FOPC.
Okay.
That's a clinical encounter.
Okay. Karma or destiny?
Destiny.
He or she?
He, of course.
I did not write this. So remember, do you love yourself?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Advice to future student doctors.
Be very determined, and if you have a dream, fight for it.
Okay. Fifth. Okay. Doctor, fill in the blank. Dr. Jonathan Barreras, specializing in.
Dermatology.
Okay. I'm so okay. Lights on or lights off?
Lights off.
Okay. Plants or sex?
Sex.
Again, I did not write any of this, so yeah, we're gonna trace around those last two questions. So anyway, okay. 31 seconds.
Oh, we were able to answer everything?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. Oh, this is student Dr. Nate Barreras. Please go follow him on his Plantstagram at Porch Life of Nate. I'll put it in the description below. Thank you for being here. I highly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate you listening to me. I felt like I talked so much. I've never talked this much before, but
No, you're good.
hopefully
You're good.
your viewers are able to, will find this interesting. And if they do have questions, like maybe, regarding plants, regarding medical school, because, we had limited time, and I don't think I was able to really talk about a lot of things I should be talking about in detail. So if they have questions, just, email me or follow me on, you said the Porch Life of Nate, but you could also follow me on my medical account, which is Nate Barreras. And if you can
we'll
just,
put that description below.
And I love sharing my journey. I feel like I get closer to a lot of people, and I'm able to connect with a lot of people. So if you are interested, I'm just a message, direct a DM away,
DM away.
and I'll answer as soon as I can.
Do you plan on having a merch for Porch Life with Nate? Are we gonna see some merch there?
Merch? Maybe not right now. I'm just too busy. I feel like I feel I haven't posted in 2 weeks. I feel like I'm slowly like abandoning my Instagram. But I'm gonna get back to it as soon as I can. It's just that the past 2 weeks has been very, very busy. But hopefully in the future, if it does, if I mean, I'm not closing any door. If there's an opportunity to actually do that, why not? I mean, I'm a very poor medical student, so any way for me to actually make money would be a good thing.
Well, good luck with Porch Life of Nate. Good luck with school, of course. So
Thank you. You too. Good luck, and
appreciate that.
hopefully, push through with your major. And I can't wait for you to be, you know, successful. And I wish you the best, and I pray that we both become, you know, achieve our dreams and become successful in life.
Well, I appreciate that, and likewise too. On the next TJPS, please join me with my guest, John Steven Diaz and Miss Valerie Rayford from Radical Registrars. I believe they're based in San Antonio, on why it's important to vote. I'm John Patrick, and please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the official TJPS John Patrick Show YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page. I'll put my handles and Nate's handles on the description below. This episode will also be available as a podcast version on the Anchor app. So that means it'll be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. So you can listen to it while you're driving. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.